مصلحا ومجددا فارنوا بنظر طاهر وجناني.
Assalamu Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Alhamdulillah, with us today we have our beloved brother Rahman Abdul Aleem from Los Angeles. Assalamu Alaikum, dear brother.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. How are you, sir?
Alhamdulillah, dear brother, how are you?
A little under the weather, but I'm getting better by the minute.
Alhamdulillah. So let's start. I'm really excited to hear your journey today. So the first question is, what is your name and background, and how did you come to Islam Ahmadiyya?
Born with the beautiful name, Raymond Brown. After accepting Islam, Ahmadiyya, my name from Imam Kauser, he says, your name is Raymond. And he said Raymond 2 or 3 times. And I said, Raymond Rahman. So my name is Rahman Abdul Aleem.
MashaAllah, that's really amazing. So how did you come to Ahmadiyyat exactly? What was your religion before Ahmadiyyat?
Before Ahmadiyya, I was one of those holy roller Christian Baptist gentlemen, born in Birmingham, Alabama. My grandmother, to my amazement, even to this very day, was allowed to take me from Alabama. My father only had one son, and I have an older sister, but he allowed my grandmother to take me, and I migrated to Toledo, Ohio. And that's when it all starts. I was maybe 3 or 4 years old when my grandmother, was allowed to take me to Toledo, Ohio, and life started then. I'm not gonna say I was a spoiled child, but I was raised in a very middle class neighborhood, very nice home, and life was good. I guess maybe when I was 10, 11 years old, my grandmother come to me one day and says, your mother, brothers and sisters are here, and she wants you back. And I was like, what mother? What brothers and sisters? Because I was not aware of them. But let me back up so you can get a better view, a better picture of what led me to Islam before Ahmadiyya. But let me tell you my story. A very, very, very Christian home in Toledo, Ohio. Every Sunday morning, Grandma would get me up, and I would go to Sunday school, stay until church service started, and this went on for the next 5 or 6 years. I remember at the age of let's say 9 years old. I'm at the church, and I would sit there and I would listen to this man, and he talk about Jesus, and he talk about God, then he talk about God, then he talk about Jesus, and the audience would get into this frenzy, the Holy Spirit, as it was called then, would get into them, and they jump up shouting, and just something very strange for a child my age. But I can remember asking questions at a very young age. Let's say I'm 6, 7 years old, and I'm asking the pastor, you talk about Jesus, and then you change the topic to God. And God said this, and Jesus said this. Who is Jesus? Who is God? Can you explain that to me? And his answer was always just believe. Don't ask questions. And I'm a very young kid, but very inquisitive. Always have been, even today. And as a child thinks, is how I thought, because I'm just a kid. And I say to myself, well, maybe if I joined the church, got baptized, the truth would come to me and I would know more. Because every Sunday, when the pastor finished his sermon, his deacons would put out 3 or 4 chairs and he would ask, is there anyone ready to come and step forward and become one with Jesus and join the church and get baptized and all of this? So one Sunday morning, I decided, you know what? I'm going to try this and maybe more will be revealed to me. I didn't share this with anyone. It was a total shock when I stood up and walked up to the front of the church, sat in one of those chairs, and the pastor came down and asked my name and put his hands on my head, and they made a date for me to be baptized. You know, to be honest with you, I took great pride in being baptized in the river like they did back in centuries ago. So my aunt dressed me in this long white robe, and we went to the what's called the Maumee River in Toledo, Ohio. And the pastor dunked my head in the water in the name of the Father, the Son, and the whole rhetoric. And 3 times he did this, and I'm like, man, I'm drowning. You know, get get me out of this water. It's cold. So I come out of the water, and guess what? Nothing changed. It was still, I'm got all this doubt. What's really going on? And it's amazing. As a 9, 10-year-old kid, I was not looking for what they might call salvation, a trip to heaven, or whatever you want to call it. I was searching for what's called the truth. And I was hopefully that I would find it in this church. Uh, as time went on, I did not find what I was looking for. I still had lots of questions. My grandma told me stop asking questions. The pastor just said, just believe on the blood of Jesus and everything will be okay. But things were not okay. I'm gonna fast forward. Now I get this message from my grandma about my mother's here with my brothers and sisters. And I went from this middle class neighborhood, my own bedroom, bathroom, and living this really nice, comfortable life. And I moved to what's called the projects, for lack of a better word, the ghetto. And I moved in with my mother, older sister, baby sister, and 2 brothers. And you're talking about a rude awakening. 2-bedroom apartment in the projects. My older sister and baby sister shared a bed. A bunk bed was provided for me and my 2 brothers. I had the top bunk, and my 2 brothers had the lower bunk. My mom had her own bedroom, and it was a very difficult life in the beginning. But I must give my mother credit. Very hardworking lady, and she made life seem like we lived in the Taj Mahal. We wanted for nothing. Life was good, and I guess I'll just tell it like it is. In the projects, the name of the game is fight, survive, get beat up, or beat up someone, and chasing girls. And this is how I live for for the next 15 years, I guess. And I enjoyed the projects. I enjoyed the lifestyle. I'm going to fast forward to Vietnam, where Vietnam War has started, and all of my friends, the young African American men, are getting drafted, and nobody's coming back alive. They're dying in Vietnam, and we were really, really, really worried. Me and my few homeboys that were still there. I remember getting drafted and going to Cleveland, Ohio, to be admitted into the military. And I did my basic training at Fort Knox, Kentucky. And while there, a man came and demonstrated to us the perks of being an airborne ranger, a paratrooper, and all these things. And I decided that, well, since I'm in the Army, I might as well be the best I can be. And I signed papers to become an Army paratrooper. And from there, I went to Fort Gordon, Georgia. And they taught me jungle training, advanced infantry, preparing me for Vietnam, which I was not aware of at the time. But after that, then I went to Fort Benning, Georgia, and started my jump school experience. And it was very enlightening. I became very gung ho, became a physical specimen of muscle and just ready to die for my country, in other words. So I graduated from jump school. I was sent home for a 30-day leave, and I read my next duty station, and it said Republic of, well, I'm going to Vietnam, put it that way. So I went to Philadelphia, got on a plane, and next thing you know, I am headed for Vietnam. But let me back up a bit. I'm moving a little bit too fast here. I guess I was 18 years old, and there was a place where we all hung out after school, after high school. And one day at this club where we hung out at, the fellas ran inside. Hey, Brown, come here, buddy. My nickname was Buddy at the time. There's some people outside that don't belong in the neighborhood. So I go outside, and there's just two Caucasian ladies in a car, curious about black men and this club where we hang out. I open the door, get in the car, and say, "Excuse me, mister, you realize what you are, what you're doing?" And that led to us becoming friends and lovers for the next 4 or 5 years. I ended up having a son by this lady. Now we're going to go back to Vietnam. I won't go into that anymore. And before I go, I find out that she's pregnant. I'm having a party at my home. Me, my brothers, mom, the whole gang, and this girl by the name of Ann. And she lets me know she's pregnant and blah, blah. So we're having this party. When the party's over, we go to the Greyhound bus station for me to board the bus to go to Cleveland for induction. Unbeknownst to us, her mom had been very curious for the last 3, 4 years. Where is my daughter going every evening in Toledo, Ohio? Because they lived in a city called Sandusky. So her mother was in disguise and followed us to the Greyhound bus station. And she see me kissing her daughter goodbye and get on the bus, and we all drunk and partying and having a good time. When Ann goes back home after the party and me getting on the bus, her mom and dad had thrown all her clothes in the front yard and used the N word and said she was a lover of black folks and she's not welcome there anymore. They were a very, very, very wealthy family. And so Ann had nowhere to go. She went to my home, and my mom told her she could stay there. But she decided to stay at my best friend's home. And that led to a whole lot of other craziness. So now I'm in Vietnam. I'm in the jungles of Vietnam trying to learn how to walk on rice paddies without falling in and hurting myself. And eventually I became the #1 soldier in my outfit. I carried an M60 machine gun. The sad part about it is that I started enjoying getting on the helicopters, being flown and dropped off in the jungle to walk around looking for the enemy and kill or be killed. I took great pride in the fact that I had learned how to walk through the jungles, how to hunt the enemy, and kill before I'm killed. What I experienced to my detriment in Vietnam, which really made me angry, quite a bit of racism. Being black in Vietnam, the only people that cared about you and loved you were the villagers. Black man walked through the villages of Vietnam, they bow down. So brother, how you doing? Uh, Kids will walk up to us, walk up to me. So brother, come here. Why you come to my country and kill my people with the white man? White man don't like you. Um, when you go back home, you and white man fight. Sometimes you kill him. Most of the time, white man kill black man. Why are you here? And the most mind-blowing thing that happened to me while in Vietnam, well, not the most, but one of them, I was in the village one day and a little boy walked up to me, said, so brother, I will give you this bag of marijuana. Show me your tail. I said, what do you mean, show you my tail? He says, white man come to village and tell us that black man, same monkey. And at night, you grow tail, you hang from trees, and you eat babies. And it bothered me. It bothered me quite a bit. And I began to understand that the man that feared us most was the man that got us over here in Vietnam. Here I am, a black man, thousands of miles away from home, trying to fight for my country. But my leaders, my country, my commanders are spreading these negative rumors about us. And I asked myself, why? Why he's doing this? And it dawned on me when I really look around in Vietnam, we were a unified group, meaning the African American, and that the white man realized that their strength is when they unify. They're very powerful people when we unify. But the scary part about it, we didn't know that. And prison and military is the only place where you will find the African American unified and one strong fist together. So I continue to walk through these jungles and, to be honest with you and the people who may hear this, I hate to say this, but after 2 weeks in the jungle, we will usually get a week, in the base camp where we can relax. And me and my buddies would go out and we would make them pay for treating us this way in this foreign land. I've hurt quite a few non-black people while in Vietnam. It's sad but true. Because of the anger and the hatred, I decided, well, what if this how they feel? Let me just do my thing. Um, Another ugly thing that happened is the fact that I enjoyed, like I said, I got really good at walking through the jungles of Vietnam, hunting the Viet Cong and killing before they killed me or whatever. One day, we killed 12 hardcore Viet Cong, not Viet Cong, NVA soldiers. Because in Vietnam, you have the NVA and you have the regular Viet Cong, which is just regular farmers. But NVA, hardcore, like our United States Marines, hardcore, wore uniforms, and very well trained. We killed about 12 of them. In Vietnam, when you kill the enemy, you get on the phone, call the colonel or the general, whoever's in charge. He'll fly down, and after we've lined them up like dominoes, and he'll count them. He said, "Oh, you got 12 today, man. Good work," and fly away. So this day, I don't know why, but this day we decided to go into their pockets. And I went into the pocket of one of the dead soldiers, opened his wallet. And what's the first thing you see when you open a man's wallet? I saw a picture of his wife and 3 kids. And it broke me down. The amazing thing is, I looked at their picture and I said something like this: my God, they're human too. Because before there was just something to kill. And I swore then that I would not go back to the jungles of Vietnam and kill anymore. I went back to the base camp after our 2 weeks in the jungle was up, and I explained to my company commander that I'm tired of the killing and I'm not going back to the jungle. He says, "Oh, Brown, are you crazy? We got a big mission coming up in a week and we need you and you're going back." I said, "No, I'm not going back to the jungles." And he was sincere in saying that if I don't, I have to suffer the consequences. That day, a truck was leaving our base camp. I got on the truck and went to the village and lived in the village for 33 days. I decided I'm not going to do this, and by any means necessary, I won't do it. So I went AWOL, and for 33 days, I lived in the village of Vietnam with the Vietnamese people. One day, I realized, well, I'm out of money, and I haven't changed clothes in a while. Let me take a truck and go back to the base camp. So I did that, and I got on that truck, went back to the base camp. MPs picked me up. I got court-martialed. They gave me 30 days in jail, busted me down to a private E1, and took $100 a month for 3 months. But they suspended the jail sentence on good behavior. So I was good for 20 days. On the 10th day, and by the way, I'm back in the jungles again. On the 10th day, I threatened to kill my lieutenant because he was a coward. And the MPs come to take me to the prison in Vietnam. I was at my base, at my camp. MPs come, all my buddies, black and white, got their guns and told them, "No, you're not touching me." But I told them, "Don't worry, I'll be back." So I went to the prison, and it takes about 2 weeks to process you in. They would not accept me, so I went back to my camp. Uh, I ended up with an honorable discharge. I won a Bronze Star for, I was a bad man. And so I told them, "No, I don't want any medals. All I want to do is go home." And so I denied the Bronze Star that I had won for valor. I come home, and my brothers, my brother Larry, my brother Calvin, my mom tells me she sees them on the phone, and they're talking, and all of a sudden they just go to sleep while on the phone. I knew then that my brothers were into drugs. And I get home, and my mom is very sad and upset about what my brothers have become. I go to the streets of Toledo, and I threaten all the dope dealers that if you sell my brothers any more drugs, I'm going to kill you. And I was a pretty big dude, very well known in the streets, and nobody wanted any trouble. Uh, my brothers found out what I had done and got other people to buy these drugs for them. And tell you how dumb I am. I decided, okay, I'm going to stop you from using these drugs, and we're going to kick the habit. And they said, "No, bro, you can't. It's just impossible." I started using drugs to show them that when you want to quit, you can. And I started using drugs, heroin, cocaine, you name it. And after a year, I had a habit. I took my two brothers by the hand, and told him, okay, now it's time to kick the habit. I'm going to show you how to do this. I go to my older sister and told her to lock us in the basement. I took 2/5 of booze and a bag of marijuana into the basement, and me and my two brothers stayed there for 10 days. No drugs, no nothing, just drinking booze. Every now and then we'll smoke a joint. And we kicked the habit. Came out of that basement feeling, macho. We done this. And they were very proud of me. Mom was very happy. And I became a hero to my brothers. And we stopped using drugs and we started selling drugs in the streets of Toledo, Ohio. And made a lot of money. Uh, I had a couple of ladies that liked me, wanted to pay me to be their overseer, pimp in other words. And I did all of these things. I had given up my search for the truth about religion, and I become just a wild and crazy guy in the streets after our joints. And one day I woke up. I got to stop this. This is not getting me anywhere. I found a young lady who was square, didn't know nothing about street life, and we became a couple. She had a newborn daughter going through divorce from her husband, who was very abusive. And she and I became, like I said, a couple. Um, Eventually, I married this young lady and moved to California. While here in California, one thing about life, you can change location, but you keep bringing the same person with you, no matter where you go. I moved to California. I had about $25,000 in my pocket. Beautiful wife, a beautiful daughter, and was living a good life. But I love to spend money. Next thing you know, $25,000 is gone. And I'm hanging out in I moved to Chula Vista first. Let me explain that. Chula Vista, very nice, quiet, ritzy neighborhood, and I loved it. But I started hanging out in San Diego. In San Diego, people are in love with this new drug called crack cocaine. And I learned about crack cocaine in Toledo, Ohio. So I know all about it. I know how to take powder and cook it up, and it becomes a rock, and black folks are smoking it like crazy. And so I started selling cocaine and making lots and lots of money. Uh, I come get my wife and daughter, and we moved to San Diego now. And the biggest mistake I made was selling drugs out of my home where my wife and daughter lives. And when you associate with drugs and you associate with people that use drugs, you associate with a very ugly element of life. And I had to deal with the ugly elements of life. And I trusted too many people. I made the biggest mistake in my life. I allowed my wife to try it once, and she tried it and became my worst enemy. She fell in love with crack cocaine, and she hung out with the people that I trusted who owed me about $1,500. My buddy comes and says, there are people around the corner. They have your money. They say they're not going to give you your money and you can go to hell, whatever. I take my sawed off pump shotgun, put it under my jacket, went around the corner, and started blasting. Only had one bullet in the shotgun. It was a 6-round clip, but only had one bullet. So I went back home to reload, and every cop in San Diego was there waiting for me. I ended up in prison. I go to prison for 5. They tried to give me 15 years. I only did 5. I come home to what I thought was my wife, and she was just worse than beat up and toe up, and it was just ugly. Only good thing I did while I was in prison, I called Toledo, Ohio, and had my wife's mother get my daughter, well, her daughter, I raised her, get my daughter away from her. So I felt very, very, very guilty for what my wife had become. I went on a mission of self-destruction. I wanted to die, and I went to the streets of San Diego, and I lived a homeless life for the next 4 or 5 years. During that period of time, I went back to prison for parole violation. Get out, go back to the alleys, and my friends that knew me tried to give me coke to sell to raise up and come up out of the rut I was in. Police come, they catch me with coke in my pocket. I go back to prison, and I'm in San Diego State Prison. And one of the officers there says, "Damn, Brown, you back again? Evidently, you doing something wrong. You need to change your lifestyle." So I'm in this two-man cell, and this old white man, he's a preacher who comes to the prison to carry the message of Christianity and love Jesus. I decided, I need to change. Only way I can change is by what I know. I knew Christianity. At least I thought I did. And I would go to this man's church that he had in the building, and I listened to him rattle on about, believe on the blood of Jesus and your life will change and blah, blah, blah. Go back to your cell, get on your knees and pray to Jesus and your life will change. I went back to my cell, and my cellmate said, "Bro, you're not coming in here getting on your knees praying to Jesus, please." So I tried it. And it worked for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. I changed. I stopped beating up people, stopped getting high in prison. Oh, in prison, you can get all the drugs you want. And fast forward, one day, a couple of guys come into our building advertising the Nation of Islam. And they're going to have their first gathering at 5 o'clock that day. Anybody want to go? Click their light off and on, and they'll come to your cell, get your name, and come get you out. I did that. And 5 o'clock they come, they got us out, and I went to the first meeting. First thing I heard them say is that Jesus Christ was a prophet, not God, not God's son. I knew then I'm in the right place. Oh, this is wonderful. And so I went to the first meeting. Second meeting I go to, in prison, you have to understand. In prison, you got gangs, gang members, and in California, it's known for its Crips and Bloods, two of the most powerful gangs in California. And imagine in a room with 30 African Americans, fresh off the streets, and they're looking around. And believe me, this is Nation of Islam. I'm in the meeting. And a few guys recognize a few other guys, and they realize they're enemies. And they just start beating the hell out of each other. And I'm like, oh my God, what is this? This is a Nation of Islam. But I give them credit for one thing though. Every day they'd have us stand in front of the brothers and we would recite Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. If it didn't do it right, oh, they let you know. No, brother. And they grab you, and this is how you do it. You go back to your cell and practice. And when you come back to the next meeting, you better have it right. So I did that for about 2 or 3 months. And to be honest with you, bro, they taught me Arabic, the prayers in Arabic, and it was okay. But they had some crazy ideas that I just didn't quite grasp. But to be honest with you, I did my first Ramadan with the Nation of Islam. I did my first Eid with the Nation of Islam. And I'm getting indoctrinated to what's going to happen next. I get a call to the office, and my transfer papers have come in. I'm being transferred from this prison in San Diego, and I'm going up north to a prison by the name of Jamestown State Prison. And the brothers tell me, make sure the first thing you do when you get to Jamestown, make sure you find the brothers, meaning the other Muslim brothers. I said, no problem. I get to Jamestown, and lo and behold, the Muslim brothers there are called Ahmadis. And I meet the Ahmadi brothers, and they tell me where to go to our makeshift mosque. And my first day there, uh, I'm reading I get a Holy Quran from one of the greatest men. No, I ain't gonna say that. That's saying too much. To one of the most influential men in my life. You may have heard of Brother Waqib Wali, but he was the imam of that mosque. And he meets me, he gives me a Holy Quran. And to this very day, I hate myself. I paroled with that Holy Quran, and I gave it to a brother who was studying Islam. But I had never seen a Holy Quran with this introduction. In the introduction to this Holy Quran, it says there's a group called Ahmadiyya. They're kafirs, stay away from them, and they are false. That was the first 3 or 4 pages of that Holy Quran. But back to Waqib Wali. The next week, he says, I'm going to bring you something, and I want you to sit and observe. Following Friday, he comes in. He lives in Merced, even to this day. And he brings VHS tape, Q&A, Fourth Khalifa. My friend, the most powerful, most awesome thing I've ever witnessed in my life. I sat there, and he put the tape in, and this very powerful, very distinguished man starts answering questions from Christians, from everybody. And I'm like, Waqib Wali, who is this man? He said, be quiet, just pay attention. And I tell myself, one day I'm going to get to meet this man and know him. It was just mind-boggling, truly amazing. And I'm learning Holy Quran. I'm learning how to do. I had a friend teach me a tahud. Oh, the most difficult thing I've ever had to learn was a tahud. It was very, very complicated. But finally, I learned it. And next thing I know, everybody's doing this thing called the bat. I'm like, what are you doing? It's all, Brother Aleem, come on, man. No, Brother Brown, you need to sign the bat. Let's become Ahmadi Muslims. I said, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. What is this bat? And so then the thing that turned me off, I learned about the promised Messiah. And I asked the question, who is this promised Messiah? And they say he's the second coming of Jesus. I said, oh, I'm out of here. Because I've had problems with Jesus before. And Jesus ain't God. I'm not, no, this is not it. But 5 times a day, I'm praying, be it outside or inside. I got my Holy Quran and my prayer rug with me everywhere I go. Me and the brothers. It's a prayer time. We put our rugs down. We pray outside on the grass, and life is good. The riots are coming, but do I fight anymore? No. I'm 100% focused on learning about the promised Messiah. Who is he? What does he stand for? Should I accept this? And this goes on for weeks. One night, I'm in my, and by the way, let me get this cleared up. I'm no longer in a 2-man cell. I'm in a 36-man dorm, 12 black, 12 white, 12 Mexican. One night, it's time for Isha prayer. I get my prayer rug, put it down. I'm between, maybe 4 foot between bunks. And there's My neighbors are Mexicans. 4 Mexicans are playing cards and they're loud and screaming, and it's just a mess. I do my wuzu, put my rug down, and I'm doing my Isha prayer. And it's just total quiet. Total quiet. I can't hear a pin drop. And before I finish my Isha prayer, before I salam out, I'm just sitting there on my prayer rug, just being quiet and sitting there. And I hear a voice in my left ear. My son, ask me for anything, I'll give it to you. I turn around like, what was that? But I ignore it. And I'm still just sitting there. Second time, my son, right behind me in the back of my head, I hear a voice. My son, ask me for anything, I'll give it to you. I turn around, I'm like, where's this coming from? Nothing. Nobody there. I don't see anything. Third time, louder and more boisterous. Raymond, that's my name. And my son, ask me for anything, I'll give it to you. Let me prove to you I'm in your life. And I turn around and there's nothing there. I don't know why. I said, God, I've been trying to quit smoking for almost 20 years. Please remove the taste of tobacco from my mouth. Assalamu Alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu Alaikum wa rahmatullah. I get up, fold up my rug, get on the top bunk, I go to sleep. Next morning, the babysitters come, shaking our bunk to wake up, and in 10 minutes they'll be back to march us to the chow hall for breakfast. We got 10 minutes to wash our face, brush our teeth, whatever we want to do. So I go do that. Here they come. And we march to the chow hall to have breakfast, march us back to our dorm, and they tell us we got 15 minutes. They're going to come open the door and let everybody out when we go pump iron, play basketball, play chess, play cards, walk around, play football, whatever. We're free now for the next 3 or 4 hours. So they come get us, and on the way out the door, I stop, run back to my locker, and I take out all my tobacco. And you know what bugler is? And rolling papers. You roll it up.
Yeah.
So I got 1 whole can and a half a can. And I got my rolling papers. I take it all out. I see my homeboy. I say, hey, man, this is yours. I quit smoking. Okay. Maybe 10 minutes later, it dawned on me what had happened the night before when I had the voice speak to me. I say to this very day that Allah spoke to me. As I learn more, maybe he sent Angel Gabriel to speak to me. I don't know. But for me, it was Allah who spoke to me. That Friday, I go to our makeshift mosque, and Waqib Wali comes. I said, sir, today I signed the back. I am now an Ahmadi Muslim. My friend, my life has turned completely around. I am, oh my God. The words is very difficult to explain how I grew in everything. There's my life is just marvelous. I get a call from my sister, a letter from my sister. I'm sorry, that she does not want me going back to San Diego. Come live with her in Riverside. I said okay. I go to my sister's house, and her husband had just died. And so she was letting her stay with her. So I'm living with my sister in Riverside and her girlfriend, a young lady I knew from Toledo, Ohio. Every morning I'm getting up, doing my Fajr prayer. Then I do my Zuhr prayer, my Asr, Maghrib, and Isha. This goes on for 2 or 3 weeks. Unbeknownst to me, she's watching me. this young lady. And next thing you know, I'm not getting up for Fajr. I might do Zuhr late. I'm still doing Asr, but I'm not doing Maghrib or Isha. And this young lady says to me one day, "It's just like all the rest of them black men. You go to prison, you become Muslim. I've been watching you. You done went from 5 times a day to 3. Pretty soon, you're just going to stop praying altogether." And it hurt. It hurt me really bad. And I remember there was a mosque around the corner by UCR, not UC, by the University of California. Yeah, UCR. And I decided that's where I'm going to go because I'm not going to a mosque. And then I get the card, this that had Baitul Hamid Mosque phone number on it. And I made a phone call and to Imam Kauser. His son Mahmoud answered the phone, who is my very, very, very dearest best friend. And he said, "Oh, brother, don't worry. My dad will be back. He's gone. I'll have him call you, or you can just call back." I said, "Okay." So I called back and I talked to uh, Imam Kauser. And he says, "No, do not go to that mosque around the corner. I'll make a way for you to get here. Please, just be patient." So I tell him, "Okay, no problem." Show you how powerful and how Allah works. A man, no. While in prison, they have an organization called Alcoholics Anonymous. They have a program at the prison. And a young man stopped me one day and said, "Come on, man, come go with me." So I go with him, and he went to this AA meeting. Now, yes, I'm drinking and all this, but oh man, I don't have a problem. But the man that brought the program to the prison, he and I become the very best friends. And I do this program for about 9 months. And in the book, it says, "We hope that you'll have a spiritual awakening as a result of this program called Alcoholics Anonymous." But I had a spiritual awakening before I joined Alcoholics Anonymous. Allah works in very mysterious ways. That same man, like I said, became my best friend. He picked me up when I paroled from that prison because my plan was to leave this prison, go back to San Diego, and carry the message of Alcoholics Anonymous to all the people in the streets and save them from drugs and alcohol. That was my plan. And he picked me up and said, "No, this is not how Alcoholics Anonymous works." But he knew I was a Vietnam vet. And he took me to an organization in Riverside that helps the Vietnam vets. And as a result of that, I got a counselor. His name was Buddy. My nickname is Buddy. And he worked diligently for over a year to get me compensated for the life I was living after Vietnam. And when I went to my sister's house and talked to Mom Counselor, I had no transportation. My sister gives me an envelope from the Secretary of, I can't remember. But in that envelope was a check for $27,000. I bought a car, and now I can drive to Chino to the mosque. And Uncle Sam takes care of me to this very day. I don't get $27,000 a month, but I'm okay. And I went to the mosque and met Imam Kauser, and he sat me down, him, his wife, his sons, and he took me in as a son. And Gafar and I became like two of his sons. He gave me my name, as I was saying before. Raymond to Rahman Abdul Aleem. It took me a while because you got to understand, I'm a street brother, and I learned everything from the streets. I lived a street life even when I joined Ahmadiyya. I had to learn that I cannot talk to Shani the way I want to, his daughter. I thought she was the greatest person I'd ever met, uh, female wise. She taught me about, Aleem, you cannot talk to me like that. You cannot do certain things around women that you did when you were on the streets. All these things. You can't tell a lady, oh, wow, you're beautiful. And these were things that I thought was just normal. But I learned, and now I know that Allah has guided me and blessed me tremendously. But let me tell you something else. It's Ramadan, and there's this thing called ittikaf. I said, oh, I got to do this. I got to do this. So I'm doing the 10 days of ittikaf, and my dear, dear friend, Mr. Amiruddin, yeah, I'm going to mention your name. He asked me to pray for him, that there was an opening at his job. He's a chemist. And there was an opening, and he wanted that opening. He asked me to pray for him. My friend, every morning, I would wake up and I would cry and cry and cry, and tears just be pouring down. And I'm praying for Brother Amiruddin to get this job. And once again, Allah speaks to me. He says, tell Amiruddin he will be the supervisor of this company. Just like that. Listen to me. A voice says he will be the supervisor of this company. So I go to Brother Amiruddin and I tell him, you're going to be supervised. He said, oh, Aleem, that's too much responsibility. 2 days later, he runs up to me, gives me this big hug. I'm supervisor. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Only problem with that, it tells everybody. Not everybody want me to be praying for them. Oh, ask Aleem to pray for you. Oh, he gets answers. So I have to say the greatest thing that's ever happened to me in my life was becoming an Ahmadi Muslim. I had the pleasure of having Mulakat with Hazur. I did the last one. Let me share this with you. The last Mulakat I had with His Holiness, and he said, "Aleem, what's going on?" I said, "Your Holiness, I got a problem." He said, "What is it?" He says, I'm in prayer, and my mind strays away to football game and the basketball game, and I'm just, what do I do?" He says, "Oh, so you too, huh?" I'm like, it was the most amazing thing. And he and I laughed about it, and he told me, just say, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim," and you'll be okay. But I've never met anyone. People tell me, or they get angry because when I go see Hazur, this is my third time, and we talk for 10, 15 minutes. And they say, how come you get such long Malachites? That's because I talk. You go there, because the first time now, I got to be honest, my first Malachite, I was like in awe. I was down like this. And when I finally looked up at His Holiness, it was like looking at bright sunlight. I could not keep that focus on his face. He's just, oh my God. And then, before I go, I know I'm running out of time. Like I told you, I was raised into a very Christian family. My big sis, God rest her soul, she passed away recently. You made a big mistake. Oh, you're one of them Muslims. Oh, what a... And then 9/11 comes. Oh, now she's really upset. And one thing that African American family will not allow. She said, I don't care what you are. Christmas comes, you better be here. Christmas comes, you better, we exchanged gifts since I was a little boy. So those are the things that I still do. Thanksgiving dinner. I buy Christmas presents for my family. But then all of a sudden, a lot so powerful. I bring her here to meet Hazur when he came to USA. And she was like, wow, who is that man? His presence is so awe-inspiring. And she says, oh, I got to tell everybody. And she tweeted everybody, Facebooked everybody. My brother belongs to this group called Ahmadiyya. And this man they call the Khalifa, he's more powerful than the Pope. Being in his presence is just awe-inspiring. And so I've come a long way, my friend. I've come a long way. And life keeps getting better. It may be getting shorter, but it's getting better. And thank you for letting me relive.
Thank you, brother. That was, mashallah, really inspiring. One of the best stories I've heard. And I'm sure all the viewers would think the same. So in the end, we thank Brother Rahman Abdul Aleem from Los Angeles and pray that Allah continues to guide more and more souls to the true Islam Ahmadiyya. And we pray for you as well. And we thank you for your time. Jazakallah, dear brother.
Thank you for having me, my friend. There's so much more that I left out. Thank you for having me. Assalamu Alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. If you have not yet subscribed, make sure to subscribe and click on the bell icon so you can get notifications for every new video. Also make sure to like and comment on the video and follow on Twitter and Instagram.
صل على سفينا صل على محمد